Alright guys, here's the pre-fire for 3 shells I'm going to be doing shortly. The first one here, I call it the Christmas shell. It is a 25-gram shell, and what it has is I used black powder coated rice hulls as the break, and I spiked it with a little bit of magnesium flash just so it has a little brightness when it opens. And what this one does is I put green, gold, silver, and red tiger tail stars inside it. Small red tiger tail stars. There aren't really many. Maybe I'm gonna say 5.5 millimeters wide or so. They're really tiny. And I put just a cheap nichrome igniter on it. I actually took one. I'm sure you guys have done model rockets before. I just took one from that and put it on this because I didn't feel like wasting an E-match on this shell or wasting my other ignition system that I use at another one. It's still cheap, the other one, but it's not as cheap as a model rocket igniter. So I hooked that up. I make the system wireless, which is kind of cool. And because the fuse is so short on this. All that done electronically. This one, put a longer fuse on. I hate fusing tape on fuses, especially duct tape, because usually it chokes a fuse. But I had to do it with this one just so I'd have a little bit of extra fuse on it. I use a different type of tape for this shell, so it has a little more compression. This is a ring shell. It's a ring with a dot in the middle. I call it the eyeball. You could choose your own name for it. I'm sure there's plenty of others. It's a gold. All the stars are gold. And they're quick flash stars. They shouldn't last more than a second or so in the sky. For these 2 shells, you're supposed to use 1/5 to 1/6 the weight of the shell as the launch charge. I used between 1/3 and 1/4 because I just want to make sure that in case these backfire, they're really up there, because it's my first try at a color break cylindrical shell. Not cylindrical, rather spherical shell. My apologies. This one though, the break, instead of black powder coated rice hulls, is strict slow burning magnesium flash, which should work but be very bright on opening, which would be pretty nice. Hoping these work successfully. Finally, the one I'm really excited about is this canister shell I made. It is 2 inches by, the length of the shell, it's 2 inches by 3.5, and there's the launch charge on it. This one is just going to be fuse ignition, nothing else. Basically, this canister here, how I built it is I cut the paper canister for it, 2 layers, and then I used Nighthawk and Lights technique from Pyro Direct, but I modified it to make it my own. Instead of using craft paper as the plug on the bottom, I folded it over first and then put a thick 9mm wide layer of cardboard plug, drilled a hole in that, and had that pressed down, hot glued the bottom. Then I used the same flash bag technique he used. I used a very small flash bag for this. After I realized how large the shell was and how much compression it has, I'm nervous actually to launch this because I don't think it's going to work because of how small. I only put about probably maybe just 2 grams of flash powder in that thing, if even that, which I'm kind of worried about. I don't know if it'll propel all the stars I have in it. But that's in there. And then the flash bag is attached to a 3-inch piece of visco fuse. I don't have any more time fuse. Kind of a shame, but whatever. Hope it launches. Then I pour the stars in. I use the same stars I use in the Christmas shell, except in this one I put white glitter stars as well. And then on the top I use 2 cardboard plugs, beat a hot glue around the side, folded the top over. Then I spike the shell vertically, and I then spike the shell horizontally with just a standard working string. And then I wrapped another layer of construction paper around the outside of that. You know what? I figured I might as well use construction paper because it's a little bit thicker, closer to kind of a cardstock consistency. So I wrapped that around that, and then I obviously attach my launch cup on. I put 1/5 the weight of black powder in there, and then I just put a little piece of paper in the bottom to make sure the fuse is touching nice and snug, and I put the fuse in. Taped it all up. Then you know what? I don't do this with my shells a lot. I did it with these 3 just to see how it would come out. Maybe a little more compression. I don't know. It might fail horribly, but with these ones I wrap masking tape around them. I did it with the Christmas shell, and the other shell is just a different kind of tape. And here I did it again. Wrapped 1 layer of masking tape around it, just so it could have a little bit more compression. And there's the fuse attached to the top of the shell right there, and we should be ready to go. Hopefully this stuff works, and I really hope this one succeeds, because if not, it would be a real big waste of stars. I apologize for not posting a tutorial as I made these things, but this one, the canister, took the longest. This sucker here took the second longest, and the ring shell is the easiest to build. So, alright, we'll be shooting these soon, guys. See you later.